Blessings, Pathfinders, and welcome to today's honor, Home Nursing. My name is Daniel Aviles. I'm going to be your instructor for today. I'm one of the officers for the Medical Cadet Ministry of the Southern New England Conference. And before we start, let's do so with a word of prayer. Okay? Please bow your heads, close your eyes. Lord, we come before you to request that your presence and your spirit may be with us. Show us how to better take care of those who are in need, how to take care of the sick, and through this, that we may honor you. We humbly ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. So, for today's objectives, we will see types of meals to give to the sick, how to avoid getting ourselves sick while we're taking care of somebody, and the key 8 points of a healthier lifestyle. Okay? Before we continue and start the honor, I just want to make sure that you are aware that you can pause this video at any time and rewind it if you need to. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them on the sidebar over here. I will be there to answer any questions that you type in. And please reserve the sidebar for just questions regarding this honor. Thank you very much. Let's get started. Types of diet. So when a person is sick, we need to provide them a diet. Now, the diet is normally established by the dietitian, and it is depending on their condition. If the person is having vomiting and nausea, high fever, they might need a special diet. And there are several types of diet. The main 4 diets would be liquid, soft, light, and full diet. We're going to start with the liquid diet. So liquid diet is when you provide the patient or whoever you're taking care of, when you provide them with just fluids. Now, this can be a soup, this can be juice, this can be water, this could be maybe a sports drink. The important thing is that this fluid has to be completely and 100% liquid. No solids, no nothing. Okay? It's very important that we understand that this can be anything liquid without solids. So, for example, if you provide a person with a liquid diet, a bubble tea, that's a problem because those little tapioca pearls that you find at the bottom of the bubble tea, they are considered solids, so they would not be adequate for this diet. All right? Let's say you give the person chicken noodle soup, and you take away the chicken, just give them the noodles. Well, the noodles are solid, so they would be considered more, depending on how cooked they are, they would be considered soft instead of liquid. So that would also be contradictory to that diet. So is that making sense, guys? What we're looking for in a liquid diet is 100% liquid. Okay? If you strain it and there's something left in the strainer, that has to be discarded. Okay? Anything that would be held back would be, or any small solid things would be not considered a liquid diet. Now, second type of diet would be a soft diet. Now, soft diets can be if you cook something to a soft consistency or if you mechanically soften that. Now, let me give you guys the breakdown of those two styles. So, when you make cereal, right? You take some cereal in a bowl and you add some milk and you let it sit for a couple minutes while you do something and you come back and it's all soggy. Well, that's part of a softened diet. That would be considered soft. Now, let's say something like mashed potatoes, which is just potatoes that you boil, then you mash and add a little bit of milk to make it nice and soft. That would be mechanically softened. So in the picture here, we do see that there is some mashed carrots, some mashed potato, and some very delicious looking mashed meat with possibly some sort of gravy. Now, it doesn't look very appetizing, and let me say it sometimes doesn't smell that appetizing. I don't know how many of you have actually seen this. During my clinical practice, we've gone to several nursing homes, and those clients that need help with feeding normally have some sort of swallowing problem. And unfortunately, this is the diet that most people in a nursing home that have dysphagia or difficulty swallowing, this is what they get. They get a softened type of diet. So anything soft and mushy. I just want to go back real quick. I wanted to talk to you guys quickly. I just remembered things that could be considered liquid that are actually might be confused with soft diet. Soft puddings. Yeah, like chocolate pudding, vanilla pudding. Those would be considered liquid diets. Part of the liquid diet. Jello would be considered part of the liquid diet, but not the tapioca pudding because it leaves a residue behind. So if you can, when in a hot state, you can just, it's liquid in a liquid form, that's considered a liquid diet. I just wanted to make that difference right now because those things, when they cool down, they feel kind of soft or a little bit solid, but those would be considered liquid. But yet a soft diet is something that even when it's hot, and I just want to make this clarification, even though it feels, when it's hot, it feels soft and solid. Makes sense? So like mashed potatoes, mashed peas, mashed veggies, not ground beef, but mashed beef. That's when you make a type of meatloaf and just mash it up and it's very soft and you add some more gravy to make it very, very mushy, because there is really no other way to explain it but mushy. It's not the most enjoyable type of meal. But again, the people that receive this type of meal probably receive some sort of surgery or have some difficulty swallowing. So this is really the type of diet that they really need in order to be able to eat. The food can be delicious. It's just not necessarily that appealing to the eyes or to the palate when you start eating it. Okay, a light diet. This one is actually could be very delicious if the person preparing it has proper education and training preparing a light diet. Light diets are, you can eat pretty much all types of veggies. You can eat a lot of things, whole wheat rice or whole grain rice. You can have a lot of things. The key point with a light diet is to avoid fats, things that are hard to digest, and spicy food. These are the key elements you want to avoid. The reason is the person probably had some sort of stomach problem or some sort of stomach procedure, and they are in need of something light, easy to digest, something that won't actually cost them too much energy and strength to process. And now these can be foods full or high in calories. It can be a salad, can be a boiled egg, hard-boiled egg. It can be salad with salad dressing. It can be avocados, as you see in the picture. The idea is to give the patient nutrition, but not with a lot of fat, especially those saturated fats or trans fats you get from animal products. And a normal diet. We all know what a normal diet is. Of course, we're not talking McDonald's and Burger King. Not that a person couldn't have that, just not all the time and not for every meal. Maybe once a month within that diet. In a normal diet, we still want to make sure that the person has not an excessive amount of sodium unless they have a specific condition which requires them to eat more sodium. And yes, there are conditions that require you to eat more salt. You want them to eat good fats. You want them to have balanced diets, a lot of fiber, a lot of water, unless they're retaining liquids, and then they would be in a diet that is controlling their liquid intake. They would normally measure their input and output of liquids, and that's something that when you guys go further along and you get the attachments for the videos that we have for you guys to watch. When you watch about the nutrition and feeding a patient, the most important thing isn't what they didn't eat, but rather what they did eat. When we do tally up, they ate 50%, 20%, 30% of the meal. We we add up what they took in, not what they didn't eat or what they left behind. Okay. Now this is important because one of the big things that people who are sick, we got to make sure is that their digestive system is working. Okay, so if the person is not having normal sounds in their stomach and their abdomen, and we've all heard them. Okay, you've heard it when your stomach goes, you know, that little thing that goes from one side of your stomach to the other. Well, that is called a bowel sound, and that's your intestines actually either telling you, hey, I'm hungry, or hey, I'm working on food right now. And when you have a sick person, you want to make sure that that is actually happening, especially if they ate. Because if that's not happening, then we have a very serious issue. And the food, instead of being moved along, processed, and absorb the nutrients, what will happen is it'll stay there, it'll ferment, it'll rot, and it'll cause a great complication. So it's a good thing to know what type of diet your patient should have, and you stick to it. Okay. Now, one of the big things that we have an issue with is fevers. Fevers are a serious problem, especially with children. And when I say children, I mean kids within the 6, even 12 years or less. There is a condition where a kid or child with a fever can actually go into seizures, and that is a very big problem. Seizures are when there's an uncontrolled electric activity in the brain, and that electric activity starts to attack the actual brain. The problem with this is that the electrical activity will actually affect the function of the brain, causing harm, and eventually it'll be such type of harm that they won't be able to recover. So fever is really something to be considerate of. Some people will say you don't treat the fever because the fever is a indication, a warning sign that something else is wrong, and it's right. The fever means that there's an infection going in your body. Something is wrong, and that's saying your body has to start working to fight against whatever is there. But a fever is a real serious problem. So we do want to take precautions with a fever. We don't want it to exceed certain temperatures. And we do want to watch, especially children who are having fevers and people who have seizures. Signs and symptoms. Signs are things that you can see, and symptoms are things that people complain about. So signs and symptoms of a fever is a temperature of 100.4 or greater. That'll be 38 degrees Celsius. Shivering, shaking, or chills. Now, everybody can say, well, it feels good right now. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. But because the person has a temperature higher than 98.6, which is the normal body temperature. Now, 98.6 can be a little bit more, a little bit less. It's not a bad thing. But if the person is at 100.4 of a temperature, the slightest bit of breeze will feel very, very cold. And they'll start with shivering, shaking, and feeling chills. They'll feel aching and pain. They'll feel like sluggish. Here's the thing. Fever is the thing that makes you feel sick. Not necessarily the condition that's making you sick, but the fever will actually make you feel horrible. It can cause a headache. It can make you even go into sweats. Now, sweats is a good thing on occasions. Sweating is your body trying to pull down the temperature. But sweating can also cause you to dehydrate easily, especially with children and older people. Why? Well, kids are mainly made out of water. And it's important that they keep hydrated because that keeps everything functioning in their body, especially because they're still not fully developed. And in older people, well, because guess what? They don't always have the best nutrition. And most people within the senior age, they tend to already be dehydrated before they get sick because they don't drink enough fluids and enough water. Now, you probably see older people drinking a lot of stuff, but it's only on certain occasions and not necessarily the best type of liquids. So instead of being hydrated, they are dehydrated. And when they get a fever, that would cause them to actually lose water a lot faster. And that could lead to, again, seizures. That could lead to serious complications. Actually, a fever can even cause your heart rate to jump up. So you can become even tachycardic. And another sign that you'll notice is that the skin can get hot and even become like red and flushed. So these are simple ways of recognizing if a person is having a fever or not. Of course, they start complaining they're tired, they don't want to do anything, they start getting cranky. The younger or the older, you know what I'm saying with this, that they are, the crankier they get when they get a fever. Now, the way to treat a fever, these 4 ways are very simple, very, very basic, but they're the best way to do it. Sorry. Now, to treat the condition causing the fever, what does that mean? Well, if the person is having an illness that produces fever, they're having an infection, they need to start treating that condition. Once the condition is gone, if the illness is gone, the fever will be gone. There's no reason for the body to provoke the fever. The second way to treat a fever is to provide plenty of fluids. Now, you want to provide them fluids with a good balance of electrolytes. You want to give them water, of course, but a sports drink wouldn't be a bad idea either. As long as they're drinking something, keeping the fluids up, that would actually help them lower the temperature. Now, a cold drink, what it does, it goes in, it goes to the stomach, and now it starts cooling the person from the inside. Why? Because when you drink something cold, what happens is that all that cold liquid goes to your stomach, and now your stomach needs to pull blood from all over your body, which is what is carrying that heat from the fever. All right? So the blood is pulled to the stomach to start warming up the liquid, so it can go from the stomach into the intestines to be absorbed. So when the blood goes to the stomach, after the person drank something cold or cool, that blood is there churning moving the stomach, allowing it to do its function. And the coolness of the stomach is starting to cool off the blood. So that would actually help the person lower the temperature a little bit and also keep them hydrated, right? That way, if they also start sweating, they have enough water to keep themselves from overheating and becoming dehydrated, which would cause even more of a headache and could even cause disorientation, a couple more things. So remember, if a person has a fever, you want to keep them hydrated, unless they have some sort of condition that they're not supposed to drink a lot of fluids. Another way to treat a fever would be to apply cold compresses. Now, a cold compress can be, as you guys see here in the video, in the picture, this here, it could be one of those bottles with ice inside. You can get a bag of frozen peas. I don't know, something cold. Now, you don't want to place something cold directly on the skin. What you want to do is you want to wrap it with a towel so that it doesn't go straight on top of the skin. In the case of what we see in the picture here, that wouldn't be an issue because the lining actually does that buffering so that it won't get that cold against the skin. Now, again, what you want is to provide a cold area so that the blood will cool down, so when it circles throughout the body, the temperature will lessen. Places you can place the cold pack or the ice pack or whatever you're going to put that's cold, the forehead, because there's a lot of capillaries running through the forehead, and that will allow for circulation to go through and cool down. The back of the neck, the hands, the armpit, the groin, yes, and between the legs, and behind the knees and at the feet. These places have a lot of blood vessels that are near the skin, and when you place cold things there, that will drop the temperature faster than just placing them in random spots throughout the body. All right? Give antipyretic medications. Now, This one, we have two types of meds that are normally given to a person with a fever. The antipyretic acetaminophen or Tylenol is a very good medication. Very few people have side effects from this medication. And what we do give them is enough for one dosage, which should be, I believe, well, the bottle should say it, but I believe most dosage are 500 capsule tablets, or depending if it's a liquid medication, depending on the age of the child, it'll say how much milliliters to give the child of that specific medication. It's normally every 6 hours that you give the medication, and there's a max dose. Now, the reason that there's so much you can take in 24 hours is because if you start abusing of Tylenol and those type of medications, acetaminophen, what will happen is that your liver will start to get irritated because that becomes toxic for the liver. Okay? And that would create a hepatic condition, and that's not good because the liver is the filter for the body, and every medication and most things have to be, or everything has to be filtered through the liver. So you don't want to abuse your liver either, right? So you want to take that medication, the Tylenol or acetaminophen, you want to take it as prescribed or directed by the instructions on the medication, and you want to make sure that you don't abuse of it. Now, what happens if you want to take more because you need more, but you already maxed out on that medication? Well, there's another type of medication called NSAIDs. Now, NSAIDs, you have ibuprofen, you have Toradol, you have aspirin, and the cool thing about this medication is that if you maxed in one, you can go for the other. Okay, you don't have to go Tylenol first and then aspirin or ibuprofen. The problem with the other one, the NSAIDs, is that a lot of people are allergic to these type of medications. I'm one of them. I can't take any NSAIDs because I will swell up like a balloon. I won't be able to breathe, and I will die. That's why I normally give trainees and have an EpiPen with me, just in case. Even when I work in the ambulance, I have an EpiPen on me for myself because if at any moment I'm exposed to this type of medication, well, I can go into a very severe allergic reaction. So that's one of the two problems that medication has. But if you can't take it because it doesn't do that to you, then yeah, you can definitely take it and it will help you to lower your fever. The other problem that medication has, it produces swelling. Now, a lot of people know that aspirin helps when you have a heart condition. So it makes it easier for blood to move around, but it can also make bleeding a lot easier. So if your patient has a bleeding condition or is allergic to NSAIDs, then you should only use acetaminophen. Make sense? Awesome. For the time being, these are the four most likely treatments. And what I want you to now think of and do, I want you to find somebody and practice the following things, okay? We want you to take their vitals. Now, we want you to take their pulse, we want you to take their respirations, and we want you to take their temperature. Now, temperature is easy. You stick the thermometer in their mouth, or their ears, or their foreheads, which are the three most common places, and check the temperature. We want you to take their pulse. Now, those of you who saw our honor on heart and circulation will remember that there are several places you can take it. You can take it here on the neck, or you can take it on the wrist, the radial pulse. Let me just switch it over here. Yep, right here. So, the problem is when you tell a person, I'm going to check your respirations, the person now is aware that you're counting how many times they're breathing in and out. So, don't tell them. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a watch with a second hand. So because you're going to count for 30 seconds, how many times they breathe. So you're going to go and take their pulse, okay? And for the first 30 seconds of the pulse, you're not going to count how many beats you feel, but rather how many times they breathe in and out. All right? And you're going to start this since the first moment they go, when you see the chest go up, that's your first one. Now, how can you make it easier? Just find the pulse, put their hand just over their chest. Just tell them, listen, I'm just checking your pulse. Don't worry, I'm just checking your pulse. And then every time they go, that's one. And for 30 seconds, you're going to count. Once those 30 seconds are up, you take that number, you write it down, and you multiply it by 2. And that's your breaths per minute. Okay? Then for 60 seconds, you're going to start counting how many thuds you feel. Then once you go for 60 seconds feeling the pulse, write that down. And that's their pulse. If you can't feel it for some reason, and you did the project and you have your stethoscope, the thing you use to listen to the heart, you can always put it on the chest around this main area, and then you can listen to the heart. And that's another way for 60 seconds. If you listen to the heart, that's your pulse. Okay? So do that. Write down what you found. Write down whom you did it on. And don't forget to turn that into your Pathfinder Club director. They will have that as evidence that you completed that portion of the honor. Now we're going to talk about communicable diseases. Now don't make fun of me because I can't say the word right. Okay? What it means is just conditions that can be transmitted from one person to another. Now there are diseases that you can't catch, like allergic reactions. You can't catch that from somebody. But the flu you can. And what you want to understand is a condition that can be transmitted can be either airborne or bloodborne. Okay, you can come into contact with it or you can breathe it in. So because of these 2 reasons, you want to make sure that you take the right precautions. So what are those right precautions? Well, you want to wear a gown. The gown is used to stop you from getting your clothes contaminated so that when you go to another person, you don't transmit whatever disease they have. You want to wear a face shield because ways that conditions or those diseases can come into your body is through what is called the mucous membranes. Now you have mucous membranes in your nose, the inside of your nose, the inside of your mouth, and your eyes, actually. This part here, this part right here. If it lands there on your eyes, it will be absorbed into your body and you will get sick. All right. Also, if there's a break or a tear, let's say if you shave and you have a small cut and that lands on that small cut, well, it can be absorbed in and you can get sick. So a face shield will protect your face from any person that's coughing, sneezing, or even vomiting. It's bad. It happens. It's bad. Yeah, and not all sick people think about turning their face when they do that. So you want to make sure that you have a face shield if available. If you don't have a face shield, you do want to wear goggles or glasses, something that will protect your eyes. Also, you do want to wear a mask. Now, there's 2 types of masks normally. There is a N95, which is something that will help protect you better. It's a type of mask that normally is fitted and will make sure that everything is filtered there. The other one is the cloth mask. That is what you see on the picture right here. Is this type of mask. And those are very good as well. Those type of masks, we also put them on the people who are sick, because that way when they cough, whatever they're coughing or sneezing out is trapped in that mask and doesn't go everywhere else getting other people sick. Gloves. Now, gloves are very important because they protect you from coming into direct contact with things that you don't want to carry home with you. And what you want is to understand that you need to wash, or you should wash your hands before putting gloves on, and you should wash your hands after putting gloves on. Okay? That means that when you take them off, you wash your hands. Before you put them on, you wash your hands. But if you don't have soap and water, which is the number one recommended thing to use to clean your hands, then use soap, hand sanitizer. Now, I know a lot of people think, well, if I have hand sanitizer, wouldn't that be better than soap and water? And the answer is no. Hand sanitizer is a good option if you don't have soap and water. But if you do have soap and water, that's the best option to make sure that your hands are clean. Okay? And no, it doesn't matter how hot or cold the water is, as long as you're using soap and water. Okay? Now, when you put gloves on, that's pretty straightforward. Right? You put them on, you make sure it's one finger per space, right? But when you take them off, if you do this, everything that was on your glove is now on my hand or my wrist or my arm. So what I want to do is I want to be able to take it off without getting anything on me. So I'm going to take my non-dominant hand and I'm going to cup it like this. I'm going to touch my pinky and my thumb. And then I'm going to grab it. And let's see if I can move it. I'm going to grab it right here. Okay? And I'm going to hook it. Let me see how I can. I'm going to hook it like this. Right? And I'm going to start pulling up. Right? Straighten my fingers out. Pull it up. Pull it up. Pull it up. And just bring in that glove into the other hand that's still gloved. Now, how do I take this glove off without getting this hand dirty? Well, you want to take the two fingers, your middle and index finger, and you want to slide it just underneath. Just underneath. And with your thumb, you can start spreading it like this. All right? See. And now, you have one glove inside the other, and your hands did not touch everything that was outside the glove. Now, is it possible to still get stuff on your hands? Yes. As a matter of fact, I was in the back of the ambulance once, and I was testing the blood sugar for a patient. And unfortunately, the glove that I had on when I took it off was defective, had a little hole, and I found blood on my thumb. So gloves aren't always 100%, and that's why we need to wash our hands with soap and water. Now, you may not see it, but it doesn't mean that there's not something there that can contaminate and get you sick. So when that does happen, when you do wear gloves, please wash your hands. Keep them clean. Okay? We already spoke about hand washing. When you do wash your hands, yes, 20 seconds. You can sing happy birthday if you want to. 20 seconds washing your hands. You want to wash the palms of your hands. You want to wash each finger in between on both sides. The thumbs. You want to do the nails down to your wrist. And for a minimum of 20 seconds. Like I said, just soap and just water. That's fine. Nice, cool running water. Now, symptoms of being sick, and this is very important. What are the symptoms of being sick? Well, you can get a fever. You can feel pain. You can feel nauseous. You may not feel nauseous. You can start vomiting. You may not start vomiting. It's all very subjective. Why subjective? Because it all depends on what the condition is and what are the symptoms. The best thing you can do is if you start feeling not normal. Listen to this. This is important. If you don't feel normal, like you don't feel just right, you may feel a little bit more tired. You may feel a little bit like cranky and you slept well. You may feel a little bit dizzy. You might be getting sick. If you start feeling chills, fever, hot, if you start feeling like you're shaking all of a sudden, you might have a condition. These are general signs of a person feeling sick. But normally a person who feels sick will say, or will recognize, I don't feel well. I don't feel right. Because everybody knows what they feel when they feel right. When they don't feel right, they also recognize it because something's off. And this is very important. We need to recognize that and take it serious. When a person says, I don't feel well, even if you think they might be faking it, pay attention to it. They might not, and it might be a real thing. We're going to be now discussing about hot and cold treatments. And now these are very useful when treating patients. Hot treatments include when you dip the person's feet in a warm tub or bucket filled with warm water and Epsom salt. That will help with swelling and conditions for the feet. It also can help the person if they're having difficulty breathing. You apply some heat, humid heat, or some vapors or mist, and the humidity and the heat will help open up the airways and help them feel better. The other thing about heat is it helps to expand circulation. So when you allow a person to have heat, if you apply a warm compress or a electric blanket or something hot to a portion of the body, the blood vessels in that portion will expand, allowing for blood to reach that portion. So if a person is sore, they're hurt, or they have a spasm, and you apply heat to that area, what will happen is the blood vessels will expand, blood will reach that muscle, and will allow for that muscle to recover faster and easier, okay, with less effort. With cold, on the other hand, what you want to do is you want to lower inflammations. If the person has a swollen ankle or has a bruise, they have a hematoma, they bump their head, and there's some pooling of fluids underneath the skin, you want to apply the cold because that will actually make the blood vessels to start to shrink and constrict, and that would cause for the bleeding or the swelling to slow down and eventually go away, right? So heat and cold can be used to treat several conditions and can be used in a very effective therapeutic way, right? Now, we believe in a treatment method that we have an acronym for. It's called New Start. And New Start is I believe it's 8-step program. Now, don't be afraid. It's very simple. New Start, the end is nutrition. We believe that you are what you eat. Now, we've heard it for a long time. You are what you eat. Eat healthy. Okay? If you give your car cheap gas, it'll run, but it won't last as long and it won't run as good as it should. So, N, nutrition. Feed your body well. E, exercise. The body is a very impressive mechanism. It needs to stay in shape. You do need to exercise. Exercise helps the blood go throughout the body, helps cleanse your body from many contaminants, and it allows you to be not just in better shape, but also gives you the added bonus of becoming stronger and staying in a stronger physical condition. Water. We are mainly made out of water. We have water in our cells, outside our cells. It's the environment cells move through. Our tissue is mainly composed of water. We need it. We greatly need it. And we don't normally drink enough. Now, yes, you can drink way too much water, but not everybody can. It's not that easy. When you reach that point, your body will actually try to stop you and it will reject the water. But Most people have the opposite problem. They don't drink enough. So, nutrition, exercise, and water. Start with sunlight. Okay? You need sunlight. Sunlight will provide you with vitamin D that is so important for you to absorb the calcium. Calcium is what allows your muscles to function. It's what allows your bones to stay hard. And you need sunlight in order to absorb calcium into your body. Temperance. If you start eating whatever, whenever, because of, hey, I just feel like it, guess what? Your body's going to break down. Your body needs a break from eating all the time. It needs time to digest and to recover from a big meal. Your body also needs simple foods. It doesn't have to be McDonald's 24/7. I know I'm picking up on that fast food. It's just that it's everywhere. It's so easy, especially when you work in a job like an ambulance. It's just convenient and everywhere. Okay, so I'm not saying you can't have junk food. I'm just saying you shouldn't have it all the time. Okay, you should have something healthy, and you should display temperance. You should display good judgment of what you should eat, when you should eat, and give your body breaks in between meals so that the food may be digested. You need air, because guess what? You can only hold your breath for so long. And if you breathe bad air, then guess what? You don't get enough oxygen. And oxygen is the thing, well, the two components that makes you work, that keeps your brain working. So yes, you need fresh, clean air. R for rest. Now, a lot of us are getting quite a bit of rest now with the COVID virus going around. But it's important to rest, especially if you're busy, if you're always out, if you're playing sports, you need to rest. Your body needs to regenerate. As a matter of fact, God told Israel, He told humanity, He told you, He told me, one day a week we need to rest. And that is His holy Sabbath. It's meant for you to be with Him. It's meant for you to rest with Him. Your body needs a rest. In the book of Matthew, Jesus said that the Sabbath was made for men, not meant for the Sabbath. That means that God made the Sabbath because He knew we need the rest. So, rest. And T, trust in God. Now, we don't want to finish this honor without expressly saying the best thing you can do is trust in God. And He will keep us healthy, but we have to be responsible and give a proper testimony for those who are yet to know the God that we trust. We need to show them the right things, how to take care of themselves. We need to show them that we take care of ourselves and they can do the same. And trusting God is part of it. We trust that He'll keep us safe, and we trust the things that He's shown us to follow through so that we may stay healthy. There are a couple other portions of the honor that have not been shown here in the video. I do invite you. We will have a few links in the description below so you can go and see the different parts. Those parts will be how to feed a patient, how to turn them in bed, and how to apply eye drops. So I invite you to please check out the links below. If you do have any questions, if you do need a little bit more information, feel free to contact us through the Southern New England Conference webpage. And God bless.